So let me start by asking our panelists to introduce themselves and their firms briefly.
Hello, everyone. My name's Fiona, and I head up the machine learning team at Detactics. We specialise in data quality, preparation, and matching at scale, and we have clients in the finance and governmental sectors. And we help our clients with things like monitoring, measuring their data quality through to tasks such as compliance to regulations and single customer view.
Thank you. Let's move on to the questions. And how would you define data discovery and its potential benefits?
So I'm actually thinking of our clients, and we often see a spectrum of capabilities and where institutions are in terms of their maturity and their data journey as well. So I think that sort of then highlights other areas that Randy and Peggy have highlighted. In terms of, where you are with your data governance framework. Are you at the start of your journey, or are you well established with that? Right through to data quality. And actually often, we're asked by clients, what's my data, or what data quality rules should I be using as well? So feeding that type of information in, and then it goes right back to the first part of the discussion in terms of talking about assignment of ownership and responsibility of the data, right through to security and accessibility. And then understanding those regulations and legal implications and security of your data as well. And I really like the point that Randy had raised in terms of context and the importance of trying to embed this context, especially whenever you are trying to discover data, within your lake, for example, and uncover those relationships and make use of things like your metadata catalogs and building that out to build that context in.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. And let's ask our first audience question. It's a poll question, and it asks, what are the challenges of data discovery at your organization?
Yeah, so a very broad approach would firstly be embedding that culture of data responsibility and understanding within an organization. So that goes from your C-suite executives right down to your data engineers and on the technical side as well, and having that as a priority and an impetus as opposed to like a checkbox exercise. So that's a rather broad stroke and not something that's very simply resolved. And that includes, skilling up and training, because this area is constantly changing. Regulations are updating and changing. For example, we've got the potential of new AI regulations in the EU coming down the line. Keeping an eye on best practices. Security is always moving and keeping up to date with that, and privacy. And I think of what we've touched on as well as accountability is key. So, assigning those roles and responsibilities. So as Browne was saying, we know who the key owner of this one single data set of truth is. And then I suppose I think Peggy will probably talk about this in terms of the data governance. So you've got many policies, and it's maybe integrating these policies. So you've got policies around data privacy, ethics, security, and quality, and so on, and having a holistic view of those. And then finishing off with best practices that Linda's highlighted really well in terms of having, your standardized data model across a company. That's a really interesting example of the country field there, Linda, through to, building your data catalogs categorizing your data in terms of risk, in terms of regulation, and so on as well. So broad strokes down to best practices.
Okay, that's great. We're coming near to the end of our time. So let's run through some of the technologies, tools and solutions that can be helpful here with data discovery. Fiona, would you like to start?
Yeah. So there really is a rainbow of tools and solutions. So here goes. But it really again depends on where you are in your data discovery journey, and also maybe how much expertise and technology you have, for example, in-house already. So you've got a real range from data lineage and visualization tools, and we can see how a lot of these tools are being augmented. For example, data lineage being augmented with data quality metrics as it flows through an institution. Then technology to aid, for example, with metadata management. So maybe adding in more of that contextual information that Randy has been discussing on here. And then the use of natural language processing approaches to then pick out that contextual information. But again, it really all depends on having good quality contextual data already stored within your system in order to do that. No code platforms to help subject matter experts with things with measuring, monitoring their data quality, improving their data quality, right through to things like graphs and graph analysis to uncover potential links and relationships between data as systems get larger and more complex. And then the use of machine learning to augment. I really liked what Linda was saying about, that human in the loop approach as well. So augmenting things like classification of data, uncovering dependencies, recommending data sets to users and so on. So a real spectrum of approaches there.
Thank you. Randy, a few words from you here.
Well, what I'd like to see is that we have discussions about pooling the individual learnings, because any machine learning tool, each customer has to go through teaching it. I think if there's a way to generalize those learnings, especially about context, and find a way to pull that as a library that all users can access. I know the IP considerations are going to be very complex, but you're getting from machine learning to a learned machine then. And I think that's a really exciting place to go.
Thank you. Fiona, what do you see going forward?
I love that idea, Randy, because we build machine learning models, and that's one of the hardest part is building your data set. So I think that's a fantastic idea. And actually within the next year, it would be great to see us moving along in terms of augmenting the data discovery process with machine learning to address those rather manual, time-consuming tasks. With those learnings. So that's
Well,
great of the year.
Thank you.